to the T-roh Show. Transmitting truth one week at a time.
Welcome to the 32nd broadcast of the T-roh Show, folks. We've got a lot to cover today. We have notices and stuff like that need to be explained. And this is going to take us quite a bit to explain it. So please be patient with us, and we'll get through this so people understand what has actually happened to this country and why a lot of things are just really kind of weird. People don't really realize what's happening. So let's get started. So this is Keith, your host. You got Stu. Tony is off with some family business, so he won't be on this particular episode. So welcome to the T-roh Show. And hey, Stu, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Okay, Stu's going to go ahead and read this notice to everybody, and we're going to go through and explain what happened in this country. So go ahead, take it away, Stu.
Okay, screen sharing should show up anytime now.
It's there.
All right, so we have Office of the Secretary of State, Declaration of Executive Power, International Public Notice. I'll read it to you. You can follow along. The United States in Congress Assembled hereby declares that all executive power of the people of the original 13 states of the Union, established within the Articles of Association of 1774, and later established within the Articles of Confederation of 1781, now resides within the Articles of Confederation as amended May 5th, 2015. Whereas, any and all beneficiary and trustee claims against the executive power of the people of the States of the Union by foreign powers are declared notwithstanding due to nefarious acts of theft by deception against the people of the States of the Union of 1774. And I'm going to scroll a bit. Therefore, this declaration is retroactive from the inception of the act of theft by deception to the present day, and be it resolved that the City of Washington, D.C. is no longer obligated to the will of the monarch residing within Vatican City, and the trust created and administered by the City of London is notwithstanding due to the theft by deception from its inception. All religious authority is notwithstanding under the theft by deception and any other arbitrary or nefarious act.
Okay, now a lot of people have said, what is that all about? So what does that mean? That's what we have to explain today. So I'm going to share screens. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. All right. Now, this video we're going to play, but I don't have to basically have any sound in it because it's most of the wording is down below. So here he is. He comes out. In this particular video, there is no do-it-yourself church and no freelancers. How many times did we hear Pope Benedict describe the church is a we church? Sometimes you may hear someone say, I believed in God, in Jesus, but the church, I don't care. How many times have we heard this? Then he's coming out saying this is wrong. There are those who believe you can have cannot have here. When I'll go back there again. Couldn't find the pause button. There are those who believe you can have a personal, direct, and immediate relationship with Jesus Christ outside the communion of the church and mediation of the church. These temptations are dangerous and harmful. They are, in the words of the great Pope Paul the Sixth, absurd dichotomies. It's true that journeying together is challenging and sometimes can be tiring. It may be some brother or sister in the church makes us face a problem or scandalize us. But the Lord entrusted his message of salvation to humans. All of us as witnesses and as our brothers and sisters with their gifts and limits who come to us and make themselves known. This means belonging to the church. Remember, being Christian means belonging to the church. First name Christian, last name church member. So he renames everybody. That tipped me off to what this guy was doing. So since the subject matter of the notice is executive power, let's go over to executive power and say the executive power is the organ exercising authority and holding responsibility for the governance of a state. That's considered, now if the people had their executive power, they would have a republic. That's how it works. The executive power executes and enforces the law. That's why you have to have a complaint before you move anywhere. However, the way it is now, one citizen cannot prosecute another citizen. They have to go through a third party and or an agent of the American Bar Association, which is connected to the International Bar Association, which is connected to the City of London, which is connected to the Crown Temple, which is connected to the Pope. So why is it that one individual cannot charge another with a crime? You have to go through this third guy who happened to be a prosecutor and an attorney of a private membership association. So none of that makes any sense unless you understand what happened. So let's take our thinking caps and move on back to the 1776 and why that keeps coming up and what happened back then. So let's go to this doc. That doc probably would not be a good idea. So I will have to go to this doc here and basically show where here it said the style of this confederacy was the United States of America. Now keep in mind, there was a group of people that brought this together, and whereas delegates of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Okay, who were these guys? That's the weird part, because this entity didn't exist yet. That didn't exist at all, actually, at the time.
So a group of people, a group of guys have come together, and they're about to, draft and ratify a document under United States of America Congress, but that entity hasn't been established yet.
That wasn't established yet.
That's what you're saying, right?
Well, that's the weird part.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there? Who are these guys? Who are these guys right here? That doesn't make any sense. And they're going to agree to certain articles of confederation and perpetual union between the states of, now remember, there's a states of right there. So everybody that says these are corporations and those are horrible, don't do that. That was the original states. Union was upper and lowercase letters. Okay, and then they styled the country the United States of America. Now they had to style the country the United States of America. It had to be something different. And the states of the Union, the original states of the Union, the people had retained their sovereignty. So each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence in every power, jurisdiction, and right, which is not by this confederation expressly delegated to the United States and Congress assembled. Boom. Now you've got an independent Congress right here. So all this had to be established. And when each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, that means the people had their executive power. to enforce laws and create their own laws. Then these same guys come in. They had to establish this, and I'll tell you why in just a few. They come in and create, after the country had been established, they create the Treaty of Peace, which was signed at Paris in 1783. Then they said, ratified and proclaimed by the Congress of the United States. What Congress of the United States? There's only the United States and Congress assembled. It had to be established by the United States and Congress assembled, not a Congress of the United States. They had just established it 2 years earlier. Then they established the name of the country. But these same guys go over, and I'm going to mean by these same guys, here's the entity again, establishing Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire and of the United States of America. These same guys take off after the people have their executive power and their independence and everything within the states of the Union. They elected their delegates, and they were convening at in the United States and Congress assembled, and they were passing laws, and they had disposal rights of property, which was the Land Ordinance of 1775. They were able to do all that. If you can't dispose of something, you don't own it. And they were passing their laws and establishing everything, blah, 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 kept going on like that. And these guys go over under this entity here and hand Arch-Treasurer status to Prince George III of this particular entity. There was no constitution for this entity. There was nothing there because, remember, this was done in 1783, of which at that time, the Constitution of the United States didn't exist.
Sounds like plotting and scheming.
And the Constitution of the United States of America didn't exist. Did not exist at that time. So we go over there. Let me go get the other one. And the way people see it today is they think, well, the United States is the name of the country. Well, no, that's not the name of the country. The name of the country is the United States of America. Then they said, well, I'm one of the people. We, the people of the United States, folks. Folks, this country didn't exist at the time. In 1787 or 1789, it did not exist. And lo and behold, they're establishing a constitution for what? The United States of America. Same guys, same people. Now, what happened to the United States of America? What about we, the people of the United States of America? What happened to that? That's just all set aside. And they want to establish a brand new constitution and everything because the Articles of Confederation just didn't work. Well, no, it was working. It was fine. The problem is you had a bunch of saboteurs in here that were claiming to be we the people of the United States. This country, so-called that you believe today exists, did not exist back then at the time. And neither did this. So obviously, folks, there were two separate Congresses. There was another Congress going on that nobody knew about. Because back then, it took 3 months to get a letter somewhere. You got people out there trying to eat, they're hunting, they're, it's just after the Revolutionary War, they're trying to rebuild their lives and all this other stuff. So these jokers come in and start establishing things. They have no idea what's going on. And by the time it's all said and done, it's 5 months later, they just got word of it.
Right. And of course, you're relying on a lot of oral communication as well, right? Because most of the farm field workers and stuff are illiterate. So United States of America, the United States of America, they, to the ear, when you're not thinking you're being scammed, all those things seem like the same entity.
Right. The same thing.
Yeah. Very easy to fall for it. A lot easier to understand it when you see it in writing than it is, orally, audio.
Right. Then all of a sudden, the Congress of the United States pops up again. The same one that gave Arch Treasurer status to King George III. All of a sudden, there's a Congress of the United States, when the name of the country is the United States of America. So this pops up right there in Article 1 by the same guys doing the same thing that are claiming to be we the people of the United States, of which that country does not exist at the time. Okay? That's something to think about there. What is going on? Then this is what they do. They go down here because nobody really sees this happening or going on. They have all these powers and everything, which, who were these guys? We, the people of the United States, this was supposed to be a convention to amend the Articles of Confederation that had already been established. So who are these guys coming in, popping in their own constitution of a country that doesn't even exist at the time? Because you have to think about it at the time. So they come in and then they do this. We covered this in one of the t-roh shows in the end. We have to revamp this so people understand what we're talking about. We're just we're going over what we had already talked about in previous shows. So they create a president of the United States, office of the president of the United States, and give him an oath of which everybody agrees that nobody can hold an office unless they take an oath or affirmation. Right? So, that being said, the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America, of which does not exist. There is no President of the United States of America because there's no oath or affirmation for that position. So that being said, if there's nobody there, it automatically goes into a trust because there's no one there.
Right, and to clarify, we're now talking presently. Even today, there's no President of the United States of America, is what you're saying, correct?
Well, that's not what I'm saying. It's what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Right.
So, good point.
Yeah.
So even today,
the oath. Yeah.
Yeah. So even today, the President of the United States takes an oath to the President, to the Constitution of the United States, but the executive power rests in the office of President of United States of America.
Right. And they just said a President of the United States of America. They didn't specify which one, which leaves it open for what the hell does that mean? So it shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. So since there's not one there because there's no oath that establishes a President of the United States of America, that part of this particular document, Section 1, goes into trust. So what does that mean? And what exactly happened? Okay, now let's go all the way back to where people are sitting there. They've got an Articles of Confederation. They have their executive authority. They were extremely scared of any usurpation by a central government. Well, everybody knows why now. Look at what you're dealing with now. This is why. and this particular document created it. Okay? The people that wrote this document, folks, were loyalists to the crown, and they were loyalists to England, and they were loyalists to the Vatican. Most of them were Roman Catholic, if not all of them. And
Masons
and all that, they're the ones that wanted, they didn't want to break off from Europe. And then there were those that did, and those that actually did break off from Europe. So if you're worshiping this document, you're worshiping your own demise. If, in fact, you're thinking, well, we want our Christian republic, well, it never existed in this document. It existed within the Articles of Confederation and all of those 13 colonies that ended up being 13 states in 1774, which created the Union, which was their Articles of Association. They did follow, in fact, they screwed up a little bit, but they did follow the Law of Nations. And a lot of them knew about what was going on. But there were those that knew about the Law of Nations and had to subvert it, and then those that knew about the Law of Nations and began to follow it. So essentially what happened was about 6, 7, 8 years ago or so, there was a group called Restore America Plan. And I was speaking to one of the guys that were a part of that. And he did have connections with the Pentagon. And I was asking, well, why aren't there, what's holding back the prosperity packages and all that stuff? And he goes, it's the Pope that's doing it. I said, what do you mean? And he says, yeah, he's claiming to be beneficiary. So he's stopping all the packages and everything else. I had no clue what he was really talking about at the time. And it just kind of stuck with me, but, just kind of sits in the back of my head. And so Francis comes out and starts renaming everybody, right? Your name, first name's Christian, your last name's a church member. Oh, okay, well, we're going to completely object to that. You can't rename everybody, buddy. Your city, state, and limits of independence and sovereignty is right within your little city state. So I think it's like 12 miles by 12 miles or something. I don't even know what the hell it is. It's pretty small. That's where your proclamation goes, and that's as far as it goes. Once it goes past those lines, you're done. Okay, so stay in your little city state and quit trying to run the world. And I know that his followers believe that they're doing what God said it was going to happen because they wholeheartedly believe in Revelations. And they think they're doing God's will by trying to bring out a new world order, because they think that if they bring out a new world order and all the everything's fulfilled within Revelations, that Jesus will return, and then they'll get a pat on the head and be called good and faithful servant, because you did what God said was going to happen and you fulfilled it. Okay? Not true. Because the whole New World Order is based on a fraud. And think about it, guys, and I'm just speaking in language that you understand. Jesus does not want to be in part of a fraud. You cannot build a new world order on a fraud and on theft by deception.
Yeah. Can we jump back to the declaration that the Pope made about the name? First name Christian, last name church member?
Right. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just running through my mind. I want to bounce it off you, see if you kind of interpret what he's doing is he's labeling those two references, correct? So that he can claim everybody and say that regardless of your first name, it represents you're a Christian, and your last name represents that you're a churchgoer. Is that ultimately what he's attempting to do?
He just stole everybody's intangible property right to their own name.
Yeah.
He did a theft right out in front of everybody. And he stole your intangible property right to a deity that they created. It's unbelievable what the man just did. People were upset about it. They just didn't know why. It's because he just stole everybody. He's trying to steal everybody's intangible property to something and then renames you. So figure this out, folks. If your executive power is vested in a president of the United States of America, and there's no president of the United States of America, where did it go? It ended up in the hands of the Pope, who thereby granted it over to the city of London, which is the Crown Temple, which a lot of people will know what that is, then claimed to be beneficiary because he's the grantor, and then he's the beneficiary. So he stole your executive power. That's why you can't charge anybody with anything, only through his little representatives, which are lawyers, and through prosecutors, which are his representatives, as trustees, because how many lawyers will say, I'm a public trustee? All of them. How many people within the USPS and the postmasters, their postmasters say, I'm a public trustee? They all do.
Right. So if they force because they took the executive power, if they force you into the bar association, which ultimately goes to the Pope, then the Pope not only holds the keys to heaven, but he is the ultimate law and order on earth also.
Yeah. That's what he's trying to achieve.
Wow, what a scam.
Yeah, it's a huge scam. It's built on nothing but fraud and theft. He's a thief. So he can't come out and say that, we're doing this for Jesus. That's not how that works.
I agree with that.
Because if Jesus were to come back and take over the world, he would be the receiver of stolen property. Because he never claimed your intangible property right to anything. He was there to give you your rights back that were stolen. So now we got a sicko up there. He's lost his head. So they've been wielding the people's executive power for years. Because they stole it back in 1787. The Grand Convention, so-called Grand Convention, because that was a separate convention from the actual Articles of Confederation to be amended, was the great theft of executive power of the sovereign people of the 13 states. So that they could set up a treasury at the Crown Temple to steal everybody's global estate. That's what they were doing. As
evidenced by this doc right in front of us.
It's evidence. Yeah, we could sit there and find evidence over and over again. If everybody started looking from that point of view, you'll find these evidence, because every patriot that I know, or a lot of the patriots I know, don't know there's a difference between this right here and this right here. Big difference. They have all kinds of entities in their documents, and they're making all these wild accusations and claims, and it really just is a gobbledygook of a bunch of junk, because they don't understand that there's a big difference in entities, especially if you're dealing in international law and the law of nations. You can't claim one thing and then another, and then it's just a joke. Okay, so just go back and listen to the special edition 4. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's a big conglomerate of basically salad bowl or we call it a buffet.
Well,
Buffet of junk.
they pretty much, you know, if they had adhered to the law of nations, they wouldn't have they would have had their entities straight, and they couldn't have done this stuff.
Right.
So
Whenever you have somebody jumping around like that, there's a problem.
Right. So they had to do some of these things to get where they are today, obviously, but to get where they wanted to be at this time, meaning the Constitution's time. So to me, it was a planned effort.
Absolutely. It was a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to show people where we were and why this is so significant and why this declaration is significant if you want to start with the blood moon. And the explanation there.
I don't have anything pulled up on the blood moon.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, sorry.
All right.
Drop the ball.
All right. Okay, this is what happened in 2015. It says it is noticed that on the 23rd day of September 2015, the American Nationals, and by the way, folks, okay, we all know, and a lot of people just started stealing this, okay? We all know that the American National term has been around a long time. However, the National had a lowercase n in it.
Yes.
Okay,
very familiar with that reference.
Right. So I said, and so did the committee, they said, well, why don't we just make it American National upper and lowercase letters? So 2 years later, everybody starts working and claiming to be American Nationals using this term right here. And there were others that were using the correct term that they, under their little, you know, their perception of a constitution, okay, which was a lowercase n, which we didn't care about. But they started using this. So anybody that's claiming this particular status right here with the uppercase N, and if you haven't done a resident declaration and oath of affirmation, you're a fraud. Okay, just letting you know, you're a fraud. Because we're the ones that did that, not anybody else. But since you guys didn't know the difference between a lowercase n and an upper and lowercase n, you were assuming that this had something to do with the Constitution, and it doesn't.
Yep. American Nationals, capital A, capital N, are documented individuals.
Right,
with an
documented individuals with this country. If you're claiming it without being documented, you're claiming you're committing a fraud. Just letting you know, just telling you. Okay. It is noticed that on the 23rd day of September 2015, the American Nationals observed the fall equinox. Okay, this was very important. So, and this only happens every 33 years. It is noticed that on the 24th day of September 2015, the American Nationals published a proper international public notice proclaiming the independence of the government of the United States of America, which included but not limited to all prior claims since 1775 to 2015. Okay, and that link, you press that, and it starts talking about whereas the POTUS and Pontiff met for a public reading of the articles by and between the POTUS and Pontiff on the morning of the 23rd day of September 2015. The government of the United States of America was not invited, nor was it a party to the articles, and therefore hereby denies any assumed or presumed responsibility, liability to either stand as surety or to fulfill the agreement. Any other assumed or presumed information in connection to that aforementioned agreement to the government of the United States of America or of its affirmed American nationals is hereby rejected and deemed false and misleading information. Neither the Pontiff nor the POTUS possesses the power of attorney, nor serve in a representative capacity for the government of the United States of America, nor the United States of America. And this is in reference to our Declaration of Independence of 2013. Let me see if that's a link. I'm pretty sure that is. Okay. Fraternal order. Oh, okay. That's our, I remember what happened there. I'll have to fix that link. Okay. We did a Declaration of Independence, and then we did a Nunc Pro Tunc Declaration of Independence. I'm pretty sure. There it is. Okay. Got it. And what we did is, we the people assembled through the United States and Congress assembled. We have the correct entity. It was the Declaration of Independence that we the people for the United States of America, a confederacy form of government, brought forward to the present time, hereby declare independence from the Council of Nicaea. Held in 325 AD, all its creeds, decisions, decrees, bills, debt creation, control, and deception through Serapis Christus, and all of its agency and intermediary services between the people and the Most High, one true source, their maker. We declared independence from that. Okay, we hereby declare independence from any and all councils convened from generation to generation created by the Roman Catholic government. Name given Holy See and its laws, we the people declare independence. Okay, gee, I wonder what that statement was that he was trying to implement there. All right, to alert the international community, the reason for this particular international public notice was for the fact that these particular aforementioned offices have a precedent of assuming and presuming that its words and agreements bind on all people without regard to the laws of other countries. There is some specific wording in the public reading of the agreement by and between the aforementioned parties that was not clear enough as to whom it was being spoken for and on whose behalf. Some of the wording was encrypted to appear to mean one thing, and the meaning of the word referred to something else. Example, Bartholomew and his whole history and monastery of Bartholomew of Armenia in its history. That right there, guys, that's a hell of a story. That was the first time that the Roman Catholic Church was recognized by a king, and then they hung the king upside down. His brother hung him upside down, and it was in Armenia. And I don't know if y'all remember way back when Armenia had an earthquake. Man, the U.S. military was over there giving them all kinds of stuff. I wonder why. Because the purported beneficiary over there was telling the U.S. military, the trustees, take your butts over there and help Armenia, because that was supposed to be their founding. In the monastery of Bartholomew, right here. Look that up. You'll see what I'm talking about. Monastery of Bartholomew. All right. Therefore, the international community is placed on notice, along with the POTUS and Pontiff, as to where the government of the United States of America stands on the reading of the articles by the POTUS and Pontiff from the Office of the Governor for the United States of America, issuing this international public notice through the Office of the Secretary of State on the 24th day of September 2015. Okay. Now, it is noticed on the 26th day of September 2015, the Yahushuans published a testimony of the Reign of the Heaven Society Temple, which included but not limited to all prior claims since 2012. Okay, it is noticed that on the 27th day of September 2015, the 3 + 33-year blood moon manifested itself to the world, thereby sealing the testimony of the Yahushuans of the Reign of the Heaven Society Temple, and also the affirmed American nationals for the government of the United States of America, the United States of America, and the General Post Office thereof. Okay? Now, every 33 years, you have a blood moon. Remember, Jesus, 33 years old during the blood moon?
That's correct, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that is when, which had nothing to do with beating the crap out of somebody and throwing them on a pole, okay, or a cross or anything like that. What it means is those that have been in so-called charge for many, many years establish everything every 33 years in a 33-year blood moon. That's what sealing your testimony in blood means. It doesn't mean poking your finger and putting it on a piece of paper in blood. That's not what that means. What that means is every 33 years, they establish something different.
And if I recall correctly, wasn't this visit, the Pope came to the continental United States for, he ended up declaring that he's the father of all families?
Yeah, that's what he was trying to do.
Right. So his 33-year proclamation that he's the father of all families, he's trying to bind everybody, seal it in blood, meaning the blood moon.
Right. He's trying to seal all of the stolen property he had contained because he stole everybody's executive power. That's why he did that. He was, because if you proclaim yourself the father of families, the father has executive power in the family to execute the laws of the family. How many times does mom say, I'm going to tell dad what you did? Because dad's the executioner. He executes the rules of the family. When your father gets home, and that's just natural law. So you're going to be punished by dad because he executes the laws. So he tried to steal then, through the 33-year blood moon, all the executive power of every family here. Well, we stopped him with this right here. It is noticed that all requirements have been met for proper and full recognition of the reign of the heavens and the reign of the Heavens Society Temple, the government of the United States of America, the United States of America, and all other organizations, people, American nationals, territory, and all other attributes of its national and international character, as sealed in blood. Therefore, the Most High has noticed the world of its existence. It is noticed that when the Most High, our Father in heaven, has proclaimed something into existence, no man, woman, child, or beast has the authority to proclaim that the testimony does not exist. It is noticed the rules of the harvest moon shortly after the equinox, listen to that carefully, the rules of the harvest moon shortly after the equinox, closest point to the earth, a total eclipse, and the blood moon thereby seals all testimony of the affirmed American nationals and Yahushuans in blood. Any organization that recognizes and adheres to the 3 + 33-year blood moon are not with any choice but to fully recognize the government of the United States of America. The United States of America as a sovereign country, reign of the heavens, and reign of the heavens society temple. It is noticed the sealing of the 3 + 33-year blood moon is hereby accepted and acknowledged by the reign of the heavens society temple and all of its attributes as when it was first established on the 3 and 33-year blood moon by Yahushua in the name of Yahweh. It is noticed the sealing of the 3 + 33-year blood moon is hereby accepted and acknowledged by the government of the United States of America and all of its attributes and its national and international characters, and therefore the Reign of the Heavens Society Temple and the government of the United States of America hereby proclaims its Jubilee. And this was done on 9/28/2015. The significance of that, folks, is everybody looks at the beating and killing of and I'm what do you call that? I'm translating now, so you'll understand what I'm saying. The beating and killing of Jesus and put on the cross and everything else, that was to hide what the powers that be or were do every 3 + 33 years. Every time the blood moon comes together, and even in witchery, it talks about that. They tried to hide it there, that the witches are the most powerful on the blood moon. They've hidden this over the years. It's unbelievable what they've done. So now let's go back to that notice. Do you have that notice up? Let me see it. All right.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good to go. All right, I'll stop sharing. Now, let's go back to that. You have the correct entity, the United States in Congress assembled, hereby declares that all executive power of the people, the original 13 states of the Union, established within the Articles of Association of 1774 and later established with the Articles of Confederation of 1781, now resides in the Articles of Confederation as amended May 5th, 2015. Why did we do that? We did that so if you took an oath and affirmation to the United States of America, you would re-inherit your executive power. You would have it back established. That's why they call it documented American nationals. We put it into a centralized document so everybody can have it that wanted to take an oath and affirmation to their country, their real country, not the ones these jokesters tried to create and then fool you with. Okay. Any and all beneficiary and trustee claims against the executive power of the people of the states of the Union by foreign powers are declared notwithstanding due to nefarious acts of theft by deception against the people of the states of the Union of 1774 under the Articles of Association. So what we're saying there is the Pope and trustee claims don't exist, which means now he has nothing to pay Islam with for taking over Europe. He has no money. His treasury is gone because he has no trust. Because the trust, we all know, is guilty of nefarious acts of theft by deception because he stole the executive power and then tried to seal it in blood. And then when he went back to Italy, okay, he went back to the Vatican. He came back the next 2 weeks after this was done, after we had given notice of that in the Reign of the Heaven Society post. I didn't try to take the seat of the Most High or God. I didn't try to take the power of attorney for heaven. He started backstepping, backpedaling, man. It was funny to watch him because it's like an old man just got caught stealing. And that was unbelievable when he was doing that because he got scared, and now he's afraid again. Okay, so this declaration is retroactive from the inception of the act of theft by deception to the present day. When did that happen? Well, his little agents over here did it and been trying to do it ever since 1774 because that's when they started, and then by 1789. That the act of theft had already happened in the 1789 Constitution, which back then, no one would even figure that out because they would not have known about executive power or they even had executive power, except for the people that did know that, and a lot of them were beaten, thrown in jail, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and let's not forget that this is being managed by many different secret societies. Right. And the word secret, of course, is the key word. So they're not letting this information out to the public. They're misleading the public because they're of the privileged membership. You know, these types of things are occurring as they're implementing these proclamations and declarations.
Right. Back in the day, man, I could not figure out why the Navy was claiming to be trustees of the original government. I couldn't figure that out. I know now why they were, because they couldn't under what do you call it, non-disclosure. They couldn't divulge that the Pope was holding everybody's executive power here. They couldn't divulge it at all. They couldn't say anything because they were under non-disclosure. They'd be killed if they didn't do that, or if they had said anything to anybody. If you know it, now it's out there. Now they can say it. Okay, so military, not trustees anymore. All agents, not trustees over here. Your trust is gone because it never was. It was filled with stolen property. Now, all of that is returned. It's not about, is it going to be returned, or are we going to acknowledge the thief to return it? It's returned. That's it. And it resides within the Articles of Confederation as amended May 5th, 2015. The three city-state empire was based on an act of theft by deception of stealing the executive power of every man here in this country over and over again from generation to generation. And that's how this guy became so powerful. And that's why he's now drunk with blood and power, because he was given all this stuff, and now he's just gone freaking crazy. He's a whack job. And the things he's been doing in the past couple of months has even been worrying the people that were considered trustees. It's like, what the hell is this guy doing? He's going crazy. Okay, so that the city of Washington, D.C. is no longer obligated to the will of the monarch residing within Vatican City. And the trust created and administered by the City of London is notwithstanding due to the theft by deception from its inception. So, Crown Temple, you never had the executive power of the people over here. You are fully liable for all of the human rights and war crimes violations and everything personally, because you didn't have a trust to protect you in the first place. It was all deception and stolen property. Okay? So all religious authority, you can't say, oh, well, he's the vicar of Christ and he does this and that. If he was truly a vicar of Christ, he would not have to have stolen the executive power.
Makes sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me.
Okay? So, and I'm saying that in such a way where they'll understand it, because everyone knows what I truly believe and know what's going on. All right. But I'm going to say that in a translation point of view. If you were truly the vicar of Christ, you wouldn't have to go start lying to people. You wouldn't be stealing their intangible property to their names. This is what you would be doing according to those teachings. Okay. You would be creating the greatest thing on earth and the most beautiful thing that could ever happen on earth. This place would be a utopia if you were truly who you say you were. Instead, what you created was a bunch of pedophiles raping children, war crimes, death, destruction, blood. That's what you created with it. That's on you. That's on your office. Nobody else is responsible for that but for your office. It has blood of the saints. It has blood of good, honest people that have stood up for right and wrong. That blood's on you. Nobody else. That blood's on your office, your throne, your seat. All the war crimes or anything else was done by the U.S. military, that was done by your office, your seat. You're responsible. That office is responsible. That throne, all that blood on that throne. You had no authority to do what you did. You were never a beneficiary. U.S. military, you're clean. You're good to go. What you were working under was a deception. And I feel and pray for those who killed themselves over it. Now you understand why your head's so messed up. You were taking orders from a false beneficiary. He had no business doing what he was doing. It was a scam.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. What's the Antichrist? Is that the label that they? It doesn't the Pope actually represent that office right now? Well, I mean, if you're running these kind of games for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, it seems to me that the label kind of fits.
Yeah. I wouldn't call him that, because I think the Antichrist actually has more dignity and respect.
Ouch.
This was a guy who was doing it. The people that were doing it on their own, they were taking something out of a book and manipulating people with it.
Yeah.
There was no truth in it. There was no, nothing. like that. I mean, he's probably at the kissing the feet of that guy, whoever that guy may be, if in fact the book is true on that particular point of view.
Right, exactly. But it's despicable, really.
It's lower than low.
Yep. I mean, there's no redeeming. There's nothing, because look what it ultimately really turned into. We're living through it now. The degradation of the entire planet is what resulted from these acts.
Yeah, wars upon wars.
Mm-hmm.
All that blood, man. All that blood. Deep as the horse's bridle. All that blood's on that throne, man, right there. Now, natural law takes care of that. That's between the Most High in heaven and that organization or whatever it is. Because I think he's the only one that could, do something about that. Basically, because he's the only one that does anything around here anyway. If you know what I mean. But if you do your resident declaration, even the resident declaration, your executive power is returned to you. We're going to return all that property. That's why we had to place it in the Articles of Confederation as amended May 5th, 2015. We had to do that. And we wanted to do that. It's not we had to because we didn't want to. It's because we wanted to do that. And it was the right thing to do. And the U.S. military is free. You guys are free now. You're under no obligation. U.S. Navy under no obligations to the three city-state empire. There is no trust there. You're welcome to use continental dollars. And go figure the timing on this, folks. The original Union of 1774, that assembly has been convened. And it was convened on the same day that the United States in Congress assembled today, put that declaration in the newspaper. The timing on that was uncanny. It just happened. We didn't plan it. It was just happened to be ready on that day. That night, the Union Assembly was the American National Union of the United States of America. They assembled and they voted for their registrar. And you can find that on AmericanNationalUnion.com. That has begun. You got your country back after many, many years. And I've only wished and prayed that those people that earned their independence in 1776, 1777 would be here to enjoy it.
Well, maybe they'll at least stop rolling in their graves.
Mm-hmm.
And
I hope they get some rest. And I feel honored and privileged to be a part of it, a part of this whole thing. And I'm sure a lot of the other office holders, American Nationals and General Postmasters, also feel honored to be a part of it. There was some crying going on that night with feeling honored and just to be a part of it. It was a privilege. Awesome thing to do. So, folks, you got fake news calling fake news calling fake news. It's all fake news. You've been scammed. That scam has been uncovered, and it's been put in place where it needs to be, and the proper fixes have been put in place. If you want Continental dollars, go over to continentalpublicbank.com and open an account. You get $40 a day. We're pumping money into the system. If you want to buy and sell, you can do that at generalpostexchange.com/trade. Issue an offer or want. We can start there. And anything else we want to cover at all?
There's been some developments. Why don't we wait on those, Keith? This is a high impact, positive episode. So we can delve into that other subject matter at a later date.
Oh,
so
we did want to say one thing. I did want to say one thing we do have to put out there. This government had nothing to do with the buying stuff online with your social security number. Nothing to do with it. And we warned people when they were doing it. Just letting you know, we were not behind it in any way, shape, or form. I think I saw one general postmaster putting that video out or something, and we'll deal with that later. But as if a general postmaster had the right to do that, he will be removed. But we had nothing to do with that at all. We did not advocate for that in any way. That was a fraud from its inception, and the whole thing's a fraud. So letting everyone know. We warned them when we did see some people that did do it. We said, don't do that. You're going to end up in jail. And, that is happening. It's beginning. So don't do that. If you have done it, fix it. Cancel it. Get rid of it.
Clean hands.
Yeah. And if you bought anything with it, return it. Get out of that. It's a scam that was put out. I don't know exactly what entity put that out, but obviously it was to fill some jails. So remember that the so-called purported beneficiary had set all that up, and these are just aftermaths of it to fill his jails so he could get more money and extract more money.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Here's the situation as explained moments ago. And then they turn around and initiate a disinformation campaign to send the commoners off on these tangents where they can throw them in jail and collect even more money.
That's what they did. And that was his forte. That's all he could think of. Okay? That was the extent of his vision of having all this power and everything. That's all he could figure out. Instead of doing something wonderful and great with it, that's as far as he could go. Well, just throw a scam out there so we can trap people into going to jail so we make more money. That was his idea. That's how these guys think. Very, very primitive thinking. Very low spiritual thinking. Very primitive. And all they want to do is want, me, I, want. That's all they do. You failed. You failed your test. You're done. That's all you'll create. So how do you claim your executive power back? Make your claim. Just go over to the United States of America 1781.com. Hit claim your nationality. You start out with a resident declaration. And what we do is we deliver your person back to the States of the Union. Your executive power is restored, and you're good to go.
And we're currently revamping those process and procedures to further streamline it and make it, a little bit more palatable, a little bit more manageable for the folks. So, look for some of those changes over the next 2-3 weeks.
Right. And we do need more general postmasters to help out. So that'd be great. We have plenty of residents and American nationals. That's exploding. But we do need more people to help with the administration of it and doing the deliveries and getting it all back. So if you feel like you want to give back, that's the way to give back. Just ask to be a general postmaster and help out a little bit. Not a bad idea. You take your oath and affirmation, and you're paid intercontinental dollars. And as these events are fully realized, you'll realize why the globalists are kind of leaving the country, and because they see it and they know what happened. And all the ones that know exactly what happened with that notice on Monday, you'll see them start trekking off a little bit. They'll start making plans to go over to another house somewhere. They know what happened. And there are people that know. There are people that know. Definitely. The general public may not really fully realize what's going on, but there are people in the know that did know, and they go, "Oh my God, this is they won't come out and say it, but I know in the heart of hearts, man, in the hearts of a lot of those guys in the Navy, they know what happened, and they're probably just jumping for joy. They just don't want to show anybody what happened. they don't know who's who, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's a chaotic world out there currently.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of organizations vying for power. And they're slitting each other's throats, and they're teaming up for temporary purposes and then splitting back up. And, you know, there's a lot of chaos out there.
Now you know why they don't like Trump, okay? So check this out, guys. I just want to say this before we get off here, all right? Now you know why they don't like Trump, because I don't think Trump knows this. I don't think he understands any of this, okay? And what he's doing is he's writing executive orders, but he's doing it not on behalf of the beneficiaries. See, all the other executive orders were being written on behalf of the Pope. He was writing these, he was telling them to sign it. Okay, and write this and write that. It was all those orders were coming from him. And now that you've got Trump in there, he's just writing orders and everything that's benefiting the people, and they're just hating it. They're hating every bit of it. And it's kind of funny, really, because I don't think he has any clue that that's what's going on. He doesn't know anything about stealing executive power and all that. He doesn't know anything like that. So he's writing orders, and then the Pope's over there freaked out because he's afraid that Putin and him are going to get together and start busting them for all their pedophile rings and all that junk, which is actually happening, and it's scaring him. But come to find out, he wasn't a beneficiary at all. He was not the man that could say those orders and speak those orders or anything like that. They were listening to a false guy. So anyways, I just thought it was funny. Ironic, and not funny as in, you know, haha, just ironic, you know what I mean. But anyway,
yep.
All right. Thanks for listening to the t-roh Show, folks. We do appreciate all these subscriptions. We get them every week, and it's getting more and more. And we do appreciate the kind words that a lot of people have been saying. And we do appreciate the support, and we will support you as well on your endeavors. And thanks for listening to the t-roh Show, and we will talk to you sometime next week.
Good afternoon.